Everything you hear about AI is always the same story on repeat. A new model dropped, how dangerous it is for the public, or that you're behind. And it leaves you with the same feeling every time, that it's just too much to keep up with, and the promise that you made to learn AI on the weekend just feels like a huge pile of homework. But here's what no one would tell you, especially those who are trying to sell AI tools to you, that what actually matters isn't what the new and best model is, or what the trendiest AI tool is. This isn't another video about the latest AI trend. It's about where AI is headed for the 90% of us, whatever job we have. This is also quite different from the usual videos that I have where I show you how to use AI. I couldn't help notice how people are lost and confused about where AI is going and how they should prepare. So I wanted to make a video sharing my experience and what I've seen in this industry and how it's affecting everyday people. I just hope that this video finds you and helps you in some way. So today, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to learn in the next decade. Regardless of which tools and models appear and disappear between now and then, these are the things that will survive the test of time. I want you to be the people who will be fine no matter how the AI apocalypse plays out. What I'm going to share are exactly the things that people who want to sell you AI don't want you to know. Hey there, my name is Yuji. I spent years in data analytics and machine learning. Before, I was a senior engineering lead. Now I help people how to use AI the right way without the hype. So the contents today is far from guessing from the outside. I'm sharing you which part of my technical job has actually been affected, which part hasn't changed at all, and won't be changing for a really long time. I've also watched how AI has affected my clients day to day, what they had to learn the hard way, and what's actually worth learning. You won't get this information anywhere else, so stay tuned. Throughout the video, I'll be addressing a few of the myths that you've already heard of. Things that you'll never have to learn how to code, that AI is going to replace jobs, that AI will make people less intelligent. They're not outright wrong, but they're also not true. These myths come from the lack of understanding of how AI fits into our daily role and the challenges of AI. AI isn't perfect, but it is good at a few things. So it is our responsibility to learn how AI can be used to its fullest degree, but understand where the risks are and where the current challenges are. All right, let's get right into it. Here's number one. Everyone will be required to use AI one way or another. Whatever your job is, it is expected that certain parts of your workflows or certain tasks you have will be done by using AI. You may not like the idea of AI, you may hate it, but you can't escape it. It's kind of like saying, I don't want to learn how to use a laptop to write documents and share with other people. When computers first came, it was new to everybody. And with learning, we've managed to reduce certain repetitive work and learn how to store documents and make our work life just a little easier. AI is the same idea. So don't be the last person that learns how to use a computer. The preparation is now, not later. Here's number two. Learn what GitHub is and what open source means. In the future, there's going to be two types of people. One builds their own AI that's shaped around their work and what they need for free or close to it. The other doesn't even realize that's an option, or thinks that it takes technical people or very smart people to learn how to use an open source model. And they keep paying hundreds of dollars of subscription tools for convenience. If you understand this point, you'll be in the first group. A GitHub is where engineers store their code and keep track of their versions. Once they write the code, it always changes over time, with new features and changing how it looks. It also used to be a tool for engineers to collaborate on the same code. Think of it like the document in Google Drive, how multiple people can join at the same time and work on the same document. It's exactly that, except that it'll be in a programming language, not plain English. GitHub is also how engineers share their code with the public, and people from online can actively contribute to developing the code together. Over the years, with the advancement in AI, people started sharing their own AI models. And by that, I mean large language models, or LLMs in short. ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini is an LLM. People developed and added new features to the models or trained it so that it does a really good job on certain domains. You might have heard how Facebook came up with their own open source model called Llama and released it publicly over the years. What open source means is that people can view the base code of the model and they can tweak it to suit their own needs. Whereas a closed model like Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT, people can't simply see how it's built. And they're often proprietary, so people can't just copy it and try to sell it on their own. A lot of these subscription tools that we're paying are closed models or are proprietary. And here's a big secret people selling AI don't want you to know. A lot of the times, they actually use open source models to tweak it and they sell it as a product. So when you see a tool like Gamma that says they can build a buyer's deck for you, it's entirely possible that they've trained an open source model to specifically do a good job, which is to make a buyer's deck, and then sell it as a product because it's so much cheaper than using a proprietary model to do what they're doing. Think about it. If they were to use these closed models, they would have to pay API costs out of their own pockets versus open source models. They're free. And you can do the same thing. Why pay for something when you can work on something and use it for free? Now, the idea of open source is that people work together to improve it over time and they share it with everyone. This means any advancements isn't limited to a certain group of people or who are technical or to people who can afford these AI tools. It is open for everyone, for students, for researchers, for you and I. Once you start learning how to use GitHub, you can also take advantage of open source models. You can use it for free for your own work or even use it to make a business product. What happens then is that you have these tools that are truly customized to you, and you're not at the mercy of all these AI subscription tools. One day it's $26, and the next day it could be hundreds of dollars, and you would have absolutely no control over it. You also would stop buying all these different AI tools because you can make your own that's better and it's cheaper, and it's truly customized to what you need. There's also other benefits such as data privacy. You can own and protect your own data. So if you don't want to be that person who pays hundreds of dollars of subscription fees every month, start learning GitHub. If you want me to make a video of how to use it, make sure to leave it in the comments. Here's number 3. Stop using AI as a chat function. A lot of people are used to the idea of chat thanks to tools like ChatGPT. It's a great way to introduce people to AI because it feels just so easy. And people were already used to the idea of a chatbot. And you talk to it as if you're talking to a person. However, this comes at a cost. Chat is great for a chat. For one-off questions, for one-off tasks, it's great. But if you're repeating the same approach for work, especially for repetitive tasks, you'd be wasting a lot of time. Imagine, every time you need to complete a task, you're rebriefing your AI, what needs to be done. 2, you're always providing context to your own business or the data that you need to include. And 3, you're always reviewing because you're scared that it might have made a mistake. But once you start treating your AI as your own admin or junior sales or your intern, not only would you be saving so much time, the quality of work would significantly increase. And what I mean by treating your AI as another person is that you need to start thinking about how to save memory, whether that is how to build a specific deck, how to write email replies, how to do post-call analysis, how to prepare for calls, or how to write documents. These are processes that are repetitive and can be saved as memory so that your AI can refer to it whenever it's doing the same task. It'll understand what exactly needs to be done, how to step by step, and knows how you like to do it, so that whenever the task is completed, it is as close as how you would have done it. And this is why I like to make videos on how to leverage Claude Coworker, because it lets you do exactly that. You provide memory and skills, which are basically organized prompts or instructions that are step by step so that your AI remembers it and you don't have to keep repeating the same thing over again. It also has the ability to connect to your apps that you use all the time, so you don't have to open 10 different tabs and pull those data yourself. Once you start treating your AI as a coworker, you'll see the difference between the prompt that you had when you were chatting and the prompt that you have now. In chats, you probably wrote very long essays and lots of back and forth. Whereas in this case, it's a simple command that asks AI to do a certain task. If you want to learn how to use Claude Code to make your daily tasks easier, check out my videos here. And here's number 4. Learn how to be flexible across different models and tools. There's always going to be the next new model and next new tools, but what doesn't change is how you utilize AI, specifically understanding how an LLM works. This is where prompt engineering comes in. Anyone can talk to it like it's talking to another person, but not everyone can communicate clearly what it needs to do. So when it comes back to you with completed tasks, it is as close as what you've instructed to do. You might have had a few experiences where you're talking to the AI and realize it's not understanding what you want. It's actually quite similar to how you're training another person or just trying to communicate your thoughts to another person. Being able to clearly communicate your idea so there is no misunderstanding itself is a skill. And every LLM model is good at slightly different things. Certain models are really good at following your instructions, while other models are more creative, which could be good at creative writing or making creative contents. If you understand how different models are developed, what set of data was used to train it, then you start understanding which models that you need for your own requirements. However, I will say this, AI will not always behave the way you want. And I'm not just talking about hallucinations where it's lying or it's just being lazy, so it just makes up facts. LLMs are probabilistic, not deterministic. So if you instruct it to do the same task with the exact same prompt, you won't be getting 100 out of 100 times the same result. Now, this doesn't mean that you'll always have variance in the quality of work. It means that when it gets back to you, it might use slightly different words or slightly different methods. What you can do is to have a scientific mindset. So you try a few different methods and see what the results are like. Try different words or give different data sets. Try different models and see how it differently behaves. Once you practice this experimental approach with AI, you'll be able to apply the same skill to any AI tools. Now, I've only used examples where you chat to an LLM on platforms, but this could apply to other tools. For example, once you learn how to use Claude Coworker, you can start learning how to use Claude Code or Codex. The idea is similar. You're creating these memory files and skill files. You start treating AI as your admin and learn how to write clear instructions for it. These skills are exactly transferable to Claude Code or Codex. If you want me to start making videos on how to use Claude Code or Codex, make sure to leave a comment below. Now, for the next 2 points, if you're someone who is currently pursuing a technical role or is in school for engineering, you might want to listen closely. You might have heard things like you don't need to learn how to code anymore. In my experience, learning how to program in at least one language is going to put you way ahead of your peers. And it helps you understand what good engineering principles are. And this is key. I've seen many cases where students who are just starting to learn how to code and are starting to vibe code at the same time have this one commonality. Once their product needs to start to scale up, this is where I see a lot of problems. Because the code is written in an unsustainable way, almost built just on top of each other, disregarding what each code wrote, it creates a lot of tech debt. It may not be a problem today, but in a few weeks, in a few months, or when you start trying to sell your products, your clients are going to complain. This is where you see a lot of bugs that need to be fixed, and it takes a long time to fix because they're everywhere. And it takes you more time to fix it in the future than to build it in a way that's sustainable and is following good engineering practices. And this also addresses that myth that people have, that it's going to replace engineers. It will not for a really long time, because people who understand good engineering practices and have seen what makes good code versus terrible is going to be the ones that build products much faster, but in a sustainable way that doesn't break the system. I use Claude Code every day and cannot emphasize enough how it has changed my work. But what I notice is that it cannot replicate the years of experience that I have in data analytics and machine learning. At the end of the day, it'll be you who orchestrates what needs to be done and what defines good quality work. So if you're a new engineering grad, make sure you learn how to write code. And if you're using vibe coding, try to understand why AI wrote that code and whether it is good quality or you need to just completely scrap it. You need to start practicing judging what is good code. This will make you irreplaceable. My next point is make sure to learn what is good data management. Learn what a schema is, learn what SQL is, learn what sort of data should be stored and doesn't need to be stored. Data is the foundation of AI. So imagine if your foundation is weak, it's going to collapse. I had a team working on a product and I checked in with them once a week. In the beginning, I've made sure to give advice on what is good data management and made recommendations on how to change their tables. Now, there was a period of time where I couldn't be there. And one day I noticed how much junk there was in the table. And with vibe coding, the AI kept mistaking which data it should be using and kept using the wrong ones. Garbage in, garbage out. So imagine you build a product and you can't even rely on what it's telling you. This is why data management is so important. So if you're someone who's just starting out in a technical role, or if you're someone who wants to build a software product, make sure to learn what good data management is. Your future self will thank you. If you've been paying attention closely, you might have noticed a pattern here. These are in fact all the things new AI tools do for you. Because you may not understand that you can download your own open source models and that whatever skills that you learn in one AI tool can be transferable to another skill, and that you may not understand what good engineering principles or data management looks like, there are all these tools that do that for you, and you're paying a premium on it. What I've noticed recently is that a lot of these AI tool subscriptions are basically wrapper function. What wrapper is in engineering jargon, it's just a simple function that just sits on top of everything else. You're paying a lot of money for it for convenience. A lot of these outcomes that AI tools promises you is something that you can actually achieve on your own. I'll give you an example. Gamma is an AI tool that helps you build slide decks. I recently made a video how to build your own slide decks that's even better than Gamma without paying subscription fees. Gamma likely employs an LLM that takes your input and translates into their own prompt that's used as building a slide deck. Then it takes your other inputs like photos or other files that you provide and builds a deck. Of course, in between your input and the outcome, they've developed multiple steps in between to help you get closer to the desired outcome. But this is something that you can actually develop yourself. I know that sounds way harder than what it actually is. You're providing detailed instructions how to get closer to that outcome yourself. That's all it is. I'll give you an example that's more technical. Voice AI agents. A lot of these platforms that help you build AI agents are also, in a way, wrapper. What is required to build an AI agent is that you first need transcription tool that transcribes the caller's voice into a text. Then you have the LLM that takes that text as a prompt and comes back with a reply, just like how you're chatting with ChatGPT. Then you have a speech model that reads the text. In this case, you could use something like 11 Labs models to read the text, and you can even choose different accents. If you put these together, it becomes a voice AI agent. What these voice AI agent tool does is it brings all these elements into one place so that it has a nice, sleek UI and you just click. So there is that convenience, but you're sacrificing for full customization, cost too. Now that being said, there's also tools that are specializing in certain tasks. For example, editing videos, learning how to read data, and coming up with data reports. These are areas that you can leverage your own experience. And this is also where I want to address that AI cannot simply replace you because it lacks that experience. If you're a data analyst, you know what a good report looks like and how easy it should be for you to understand it just by glancing at it. So start learning AI, automate all the mundane, repetitive tasks, and leverage your personal experience and skills. Now, my last point is perhaps the most important takeaway from this video. It's also how I believe what the future of AI will look like for the majority of us. Anyone who's used AI, even if it's just a chat function, would have noticed that it saves us a lot of the mundane tasks, doing the research for you, summarizing long texts, and coming up with email replies so that we can focus on things that require more of the human touch, actually talking to people, managing relationships, and deciding what needs to be done. And that's the part that's most crucial. That's something AI can't do. You're the one at the end of the day who's clicking that button, giving instructions, and taking that finished outcome, whether it's a slide deck or a summarized bullet points. Whatever your role is and whatever AI tools you're using, you're the one who is orchestrating. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're preparing for a call. You would first need to define what are the exact steps. First, it would be to gather all the important information. You could research about the size of the company, their products or services, then analyze how your products or services could help them, and come up with a pitch. You could use AI for each of these 3 steps. And at the end, you could have AI that brings all of these together and puts them into a nice document. If you were a junior in your team and had to write documents and prepare slides, now you get to make a decision of how the slide looks like, but ask AI to do the work so that you can present the slide yourself. If you had to prepare an Excel sheet with data so that your manager can review it and analyze, now you get to analyze yourself and ask AI to prepare that for you. What AI is doing is that it's making everyone a decision maker. So the future will favor those who can orchestrate and based on the outcome can make decisions out of that. For fresh graduates or students, I highly recommend that you start exercising the pipelines of problem solving. And what I mean by that is that to achieve a goal, think about the steps that will be required. And throughout those steps, where you can use AI to speed things up and understanding where it needs human feedback. And at which point do you make small decisions and ensure a good final outcome. And these are exactly the skills that you would be using if you were to use Claude Code or Codex. You can start using sub-agents and agents, but you need to understand why you would use those and at which point. And when you reach the point where you've mastered how to use Claude Code or Codex, more than half the interaction with your AI is you planning. You're instructing where the context lives, what needs to be done, and what are specific things that you're looking for, and what AI shouldn't do. Through planning, you're defining these process and requirements. And you've ensured that AI understands what your requirements are, only then you start executing. I believe that AI will help people become more of a decision maker. I've heard a lot of cases that people are just using AI to get an answer and copy paste it. If people use AI only for this kind of purpose, I can understand why people think AI can make us less intelligent over time. But if you're using AI, pull yourself up to be the level where you're making decisions, utilizing your personal experience, skills, and talent. You're not just safe from AI apocalypse, you're ahead of everyone who are still doing it the old way. So those are the 7 points that I have for this video. I hope that they were insightful for you to help you navigate through in your career or in your life. If this video helped you, please leave it a like and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more insightful and no BS AI tips. And I'll see you in my next video.